What's up, everybody? It's day 113 of 100 days of codes. And it is once again me, Kendall, here talking to you about what we got up to today because we're staying consistent and we're staying at it. Even though it's Saturday and it is family day, we do still a little bit on family day. So today is Saturday, the 17th of September, 2022 and we are inside the blue room. This is the dining room. You can see I got my blue shirt on, blue wall, blue picture. Whoop, other way. Blue picture. We're doing it all blue today. So today we spent a little bit of time with the family down at the garden center, which is always lovely. Bought my little girl a little duck. We saw like the little reptile area, so we've had a good fun day. Had a little bit of lunch, doing all the family stuff. And then obviously this afternoon, I got to take a little look at a little bit more. Well, what did we get up to today? So we know that every day I'm going to be talking about what we get up to. So for me, what I got up to is I looked at Flutter a bit more. So I began to learn from the documentation a bit more about Flutter. And so what I was looking at is sort of more the language that's written in. So it's written in a language called Dart, and Dart was of course created, and Flutter was created primarily by Google, and was learning a little bit about sort of some of the differences in syntax. So all of the things, some of the similarities that I saw between sort of that I began to learn about React and Flutter is React has components, and you have obviously component trees, and you have these sorts of things where sort of if things get passed down and you have different parts. Well, kind of in a similar way, um, Flutter has instead, it has these things called widgets. So what we call components in React, you call them widgets. They're kind of similar, except the widgets that are in Flutter, they sort of also are built in material design. So sometimes they come with a certain way of being and certain ways of states. You can customize a lot of these things, but they will look really nice. Sort of, it's really easy to make something look nice quite quickly because of the material design aspects. And it's really easy because they're obviously uh, written in response design as well. So I'd already set up my environment yesterday, but today I was using something called Dart. I think it's called Dart Dash or something like that. It's what's it called again? Dart Pad, sorry. So I was in Dart Pad today, and I was messing around with some of the things they talked about in the documentation. I was looking at sort of um, it uses like a lot of object-oriented languages. It uses things like where you and like TypeScript as well. So obviously I'd been looking at TypeScript before, and I'm noticing all these patterns. So obviously if you know JavaScript, you know TypeScript, you know React, things like that, then actually um, Dart and Flutter. I don't think it's going to be so much of a learning curve because I already sort of know how some of the things work, like on a fundamental level. And so I was looking at things like, for example, with an array. An array is called a list in Flutter. Um, a lot of the time when you're sort of defining a variable or that sort of thing, you'll say, for example, for a number, you would say int in lowercase, and then you'd put sort of the name of it equals and then the number. Um, and then if you wanted it to be sort of a string, then you would say string and then the name of it and then that sort of thing. So there's a lot of sort of similarities, even when there comes to things like, uh, yeah, and then if you want to print, so for example, the console log or sort of a printing of that thing where you can see it is print. So that's a bit more like Python in some ways, which makes a lot of sense. And it's cool, like an array is called list and things like that. And there's a lot of cool things like that as well. You even use some of the TypeScripty things where, like, after you declare something, you might put in a crocodile or like a angle brackets. You'll put the type of what it is, very similar to TypeScript, and I'm assuming other languages like that sort of style. that are strong, then obviously you outwardly declare what the type is. So it's very very interesting, actually quite educational to look at them. And obviously each of the widgets they have states, and the state can change and those sorts of things. And you can include in lots of things in. So overall, it's been very very educational. To learn more about it. And actually, I was noticing that actually a lot of these things, like the int, the string, things like the types, they're also consistent in sort of Postgres SQL when you're writing tables, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of patterns actually that you see across the programming languages. And so that's been really interesting to see. I mean, even the way that like you create the app is there's like always a way to sort of, well, not always, but for example, with Flutter, once you've set up sort of the environments on your computer and you've set up sort of the Flutter commands and that sort of thing, and got the SDK and all that sort of thing, then you're able to essentially, like you would with JavaScript, when you do like npm install and things like that, and npm run and things like, and npm start, you have scripts in Flutter as well. So you have things like Flutter run, and that will be how you run it, for example, and things like that. So there's similar patterns, but it's interesting, like there's these same patterns in one language and one way of going about things, and you just slightly tweak it, and then it works in this other one. And even the way you make things render, like you use return, which is really similar. It doesn't have exactly the same sort of like JSX as like React does. It's slightly different, but it'll be like kind of like React can be sometimes, where you'll like define a class and you'll extend it to, in this state, you'll extend it to, for example, like a widget. Obviously, in React, you'd extend that to a component. So there's a lot of there's a lot of similarities. There are a lot of differences as well, because obviously with this, you have to when you compile it, it actually opens. You can choose like where to open it up into. I don't have a lot of experience with React Native, but with this one, what you can do is you can actually in Visual Studio Code or Android Studio, whatever it is, you can choose whichever way you want it to display when you compile it, and then it will show you like that as well. So all in all, really, really fun. I'm really enjoying the journey, and I'm going to continue to try to build a few things, really simple stuff at the beginning, just because one of the actual um, one of the actual positions that I'm sort of speaking with at the moment, I'm sort of in communication with, they use Flutter, so I'm just trying to get familiar with it and that sort of thing. But I'm really enjoying the journey of checking it out and seeing what it's like. And they're saying that actually Flutter is on trend to be sort of a language that might be a really big one in a couple of years. It might be sort of, it already is used, but it might be even bigger because Google's put a lot of flex in it. So yeah, we'll see. I'm having fun for now, and it's not that dissimilar. So yeah, we'll build a couple things in and have some fun. Anyways, guys, peace out, keep calm, code on, and we'll see you tomorrow.